You know when you see one of those grand, important-looking buildings, like a museum or a courthouse with the big columns out front? Ever wonder why they all kind of look the same, like they were beamed in from ancient times? Well, today we're digging into exactly that. We're exploring the incredible world of ancient Greek architecture, a style so powerful, so influential, it basically wrote the rulebook for what we think of as beautiful. The great architectural historian Nikolaus Pevsner really hit the nail on the head here. He's saying there's something alive about these buildings. When you stand in front of one, it has this physical presence that just grabs you in a way that very few buildings have managed to do since. So that's the big question we're tackling. How did they pull it off? How did they create a visual language so perfect and so timeless that we're still using it thousands of years later? Okay, let's dive into this. To really get the buildings, we've got to understand the world they were born into. Greek architecture didn't just appear out of thin air. Nope, it was shaped by everything from major historical events to the very rock they were standing on. You see, the Greeks had seen what came before them, the sprawling palaces of the Minoans and the huge, intimidating fortresses of the Mycenaeans. But after a pretty rough patch called the Greek Dark Age, something totally new started to bubble up. Around 900 BC, this Hellenic period kicks off, and with it comes a whole new artistic vision, one that was all about order, harmony, and getting the proportions just right. And their environment was a huge, huge factor. Greece just happens to be loaded with incredible marble, a stone that's perfect for carving with amazing precision. And the weather? So nice that people lived their lives outdoors. That meant the outside of a building wasn't just a shell, it was the main event. And then there's that light, that super bright, clear Greek sunlight. It creates such sharp shadows that every single detail, every line, every flaw is put on full display. There was literally nowhere to hide mistakes. So with these ingredients, the Greeks developed what you could call a formal language for their buildings. And any good language needs grammar, right? Well, that's what the three orders are. Think of them as the basic grammar of Greek design. Let's see how this is all structured. Okay, this little table is a perfect cheat sheet. The big three are Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. They come from different places, have different proportions, but the easiest way to tell them apart is to look at the capital. That's a decorative piece at the very top of the column. Doric is the strong, simple one. Ionic is more elegant. And Corinthian, well, that one's the fancy one. So first up, we have Doric. This is the oldest, the simplest, and you could say the most masculine of the three. The columns are thick and sturdy, and they sit right on the floor. No fancy base needed. The capital at the top is just a plain, strong-looking cushion. When you picture the Parthenon in your head, you're picturing the pure power of the Doric order. Next is Ionic. This style came from a region called Ionia, which is in modern-day Turkey, and it's just more graceful. The columns are thinner, they stand on a base, and the capital is famous for those two big, beautiful scrolls, which are called volutes. It has a much more elegant, sophisticated vibe. And finally, we get to the Corinthian order, the most extra of the three. It's got slender columns like the Ionic, but the capital is just an explosion of decoration, carved to look like acanthus leaves and little scrolls. This was actually a later invention by the Greeks, and the Romans absolutely loved it. It became a huge part of their own imperial architecture. So, now we know the vocabulary, the basic building blocks of the language. Let's see how the Greeks used that language to construct their most important and famous building, the temple. You know, the fundamental idea behind it all is actually incredibly simple. It's called the post and lintel system. You've got vertical posts, which are the columns, and they hold up a horizontal beam, the lintel. That's it. It's a method that goes way back to building with wood, but the Greeks took this super simple idea and absolutely perfected it in stone. All right, so let's put one together piece by piece. You start from the ground up. First, you lay down the stylobate. That's the big stepped platform that the temple sits on. Then you raise the columns using one of our three orders, Doric, Ionic, or Corinthian. Those columns hold up the entablature, which is that whole massive horizontal section on top. And to cap it all off, you have the pediment, that iconic triangular shape at the front and back, which was usually jam-packed with amazing sculptures. But here's where it gets really, really clever. The Greeks weren't just incredible engineers. They were masters of psychology and perception. You see, their secret to making things look perfect was to actually build them imperfectly. Which leads to this question. How on earth did they make these giant buildings of stone look so flawless, so perfectly straight and balanced? The truth is kind of mind-bending. The secret is they aren't straight at all. Check this out. This is one of their greatest secrets. The Greek architects knew something weird about our eyes. A long, perfectly straight horizontal line will actually look like it's sagging in the middle. It's an optical illusion. So what did they do? To make it look perfectly straight, they built it with a slight upward curve. They were basically hacking human vision. Incredible. And this wasn't just some vague idea. Their precision was insane. The main platform of the Parthenon, for example, curves up by about 110 millimeters in the center. That's less than 5 inches over a massive distance. It's a tiny, almost invisible adjustment that makes all the difference in the world. It's pure genius. They did a similar thing with the columns. Turns out, a perfectly straight column can look like it's thinner in the middle, almost pinched. To fix this illusion, they gave the columns a very slight bulge in the middle, a technique called entasis. It's subtle, but it makes the column look powerful and alive, like it's straining with energy to hold up that massive roof. So you put all this together, the grammar of the orders, the mathematical precision, these amazing optical refinements, and you get a blueprint for beauty so powerful that it's been copied and admired for literally thousands of years. And you can literally trace this echo through history. The Romans were the first to run with it. Then, centuries later, the Renaissance rediscovered it and went crazy for it. And then, in the 18th and 19th centuries, neoclassicism made it the go-to style for any building that wanted to look powerful, dignified, and civilized. The White House, the British Museum, your local city hall, they're all speaking ancient Greek. So we end on this thought. Maybe the most profound lesson the Greeks taught us is that to achieve the feeling of perfection, you have to embrace and build in tiny imperfections. It's an idea that goes way beyond buildings, right? What does it mean for us in our own lives to design for the human eye, not just for the measuring tape? The Greeks left us the blueprint, and amazingly, it's still teaching us new ways to see the world.